We're going to pick up where Leland left off there, talking a little bit more about Saudi Arabia. For more on what we can expect going forward, David Weinberg joins us, a senior fellow with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and an expert on Saudi Arabian succession. So, David, let's just start with this. Some are describing this very moment a pivotal time for the Saudi monarchy and also a pivotal time for that country. What is the impact on us?
Well, the impact on us depends on what direction the now appointed King Salman decides to take his country. Part of the challenge, however, is it's sort of like a Supreme Court prospect. Salman has seen his path to power clearly and decided to basically keep a lot of his views relatively close to his chest. So it's hard to know what direction he wants to take his country in. However, one telling sign is the fact that his son was one of the air pilots who participated in the raids against the Islamic State just several months ago and actually received death threats for his participation. So it's reasonable to expect that King Salman will stand behind his son and stand behind this coalition effort against the Islamic State.
And is that the key issue that you're watching as an observer of this country? Is the war on terror, the direction the Saudis go, is that the key issue for you?
Well, I think it's absolutely essential, right? But we also can't forget oil policy. The Saudis control the largest proven reserves of conventional petroleum anywhere in the world. They're essential for OPEC's policies, and they're basically the pivotal actor who decided to crash oil prices recently, showing that we're still addicted to oil as an economy, as a transportation system, and that the Saudis still basically have us right where they want them.
And the Saudis actually, some have been on the record saying, well, we'll see which shale businesses actually survive in the United States, because it's not necessarily to their advantage if those companies do survive. Let me ask you about King Abdullah, because so many today are calling him a reformer, and certainly in his death there's a lot of outcry and comments coming from around the world. But there's also been a great deal of stories that we've done on the human rights abuses inside Saudi Arabia, and I'm just wondering how you square the two, if they can be squared, David, about this king and the legacy that he leads.
Thank you, Jenna. I think it's a really important question. The king and the crowd around him really exerted a lot of effort on cultivating this image of a reformer, the celebrity cult. But I think describing the late King Abdullah as a reformer is like describing a decrepit turtle as a race car driver. I mean, even if he's pointed in the right direction, he's not getting anywhere fast. And unfortunately, it seems like Saudi Arabia is going to continue in that direction moving forward. The appointment of the interior minister as one of the next individuals who will be in line for the throne is a very discouraging sign in this regard, because although he's held a very hard line against terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, he's been the individual whose ministry is most responsible for these atrocious attacks on nonviolent human rights defenders as well as bloggers.
And that's kind of a broader question about our allies, doesn't it? Because we can have maybe common goals when it comes to ISIS, but then the question becomes, do we actually have common values, and can we look at the next Saudi leaders and say they're actually pro-American, pro-Western? What do you think about that?
I think it's a very apt question, and this is a broader challenge with many of America's alliances in the Persian Gulf as well as with Turkey. A lot of these countries, Qatar as well, for instance, are almost better characterized as frenemies. You know, they're friends in terms of some of the things we like to cooperate with them on, but in other regards, they're our enemies, backing known terrorist groups or encouraging the sorts of dehumanizing radical ideas that ultimately feed terrorism in the long term.
And we've seen conflicting stories. We've seen, of course, the support of the Saudis against ISIS, but there's also been questions raised about the funding from Saudi Arabia going to ISIS as well. So an interesting topic we'll continue to explore. David, great to have you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.